There
These
you
are
go.
copies and just-
I try, this is a good thing, you know, finally.
I'm sorry. There's one more copy set. Yes?
This is like deja vu.
Yeah, no, I feel like I've never.
Well, you said you gave me a copy, I was like, you put it in my box.
Well, I couldn't use one. You want the box, did you go into conservation? Home, okay, that's right, pick it up. A minute, 8 minutes, yeah, 2 minutes.
Yep. We're in a rut.
It's right here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's mine. Oh, that's not bad. We used to do that. I was a construction administrator, so I had to deal with all the screws. Yep. So they didn't do that. It wasn't back in the days when you used to face like they do today.
Hey, just turned 7 o'clock, you guys all set?
Ready to go.
Good evening, folks, gonna call the meeting to order, 7 o'clock, with full board present, recording secretary and town administrator as well. It's not a super full agenda, but I'd like to get going and make haste here. So, we've got 4 sets of minutes, so we have some motions to take care of the minutes, and
Sure.
we'll move on to business.
Minutes. Full sets.
Yeah. So we missed some meetings, because we had some special meetings, but we haven't had the other meetings because of holidays.
17th, 22nd.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the selectmen's minutes from Thursday, December 17th, 7 p.m. Second.
Alright, any discussion?
I'd like to try and clarify something. On the cemetery trustees proposed budget, you changed the wording from the draft to say that Brian Pike, chairman, stated he would be recusing himself as a cemetery trustee during the discussion regarding the cemetery trustees budget. Tom Grohl would be acting as cemetery trustee and not recusing.
No,
And recusing himself as a selectman, I believe, right?
Okay, I get confused.
He confused
You're
that
gonna
all means, so-
recuse yourself as a cemetery trustee.
Yep.
Tom Grohl would be acting as cemetery trustee and not recuse himself as a selectman.
No, and I recused myself as a selectman.
Well, you did?
Does it say in the minutes that you have there, Tom?
It says here it's recused.
As a
Tom
cemetery
Grollo would be acting as cemetery trustee and recuse himself as selectman,
Okay, I guess the question I have is,
but would act as the chairman of the cemetery
When-
trustees.
we have two selectmen that are also two cemetery trustees. When it comes time to vote on this budget, who's gonna vote?
As the individual or the overall budget?
The cemetery trustee budget.
That would be me, at this point in time. Because we continue with the same recusal.
Okay, so that's where you changed the wording.
Because I did, no, as a cemetery meeting, I didn't participate in the budget discussion as a cemetery
Right,
trustee.
cause in those meeting minutes you recused yourself there too.
As a trustee.
Right.
So you're not gonna vote on cemetery trustee budget?
Correct.
Okay. Alright, I wanted to clarify.
But that's just for the individual, that's not the overall whole budget.
But for the,
Right,
just
right,
for the
right.
cemetery.
Yeah, I realize that. Yeah, okay.
Want a scorecard?
Why
I
are the
think
two,
we're gonna need it.
why are the 2 arrows in here? The goof?
Maybe two
Cause I
signatures.
signed me up.
Oh, okay, it's for you, got it.
Alright, any other discussion on the minutes?
I'm good.
Alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 You get her to sign.
Okay, all set with that one?
This will be Allison's John Hancock.
Alright. Allison? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the non-public executive session minutes from Thursday, December 17th at 10:50 p.m. As written.
I'll second it.
Alright, any discussion?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Alright, hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You get it.
You all set with this one, Alice?
Yep.
You sign it.
I'll start stack.
The next one.
Yeah, I'll start a pile here too.
We don't have a discussion, but I think I have a question. This had to do with the hiring of, and this is back in December. Hiring of 2 people, how are we doing with that?
Well,
I haven't seen any new people.
no, one of them has been, I think Lincoln contested it, it's been 3 times trying to get him in for a physical and he's canceled each time. And he finally got in for a physical, tried to get him start to do the paperwork and supposed to show up tomorrow to do the paperwork.
He came in today to pick it up.
Oh, he did?
He'll be back tomorrow and go through the orientation.
Okay. And then the other person evidently doesn't want it, I've made contact with them and they say, well, I'll be back in touch with you, I haven't heard a word.
So are we gonna be
Yep,
looking?
we received another application, so,
Okay.
yep.
You all set with this one?
Did I sign that one?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is,
Okay. Alright, I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen minutes from December 22nd as written.
second.
Alright, any discussion?
No.
Did we ever hear back from the police chief on whether the radio wasn't working properly? Okay.
I talked to Chip Hull today, he told me they had a successful test on the mountain. They're ordering some low power, radios because they have to produce the power in order to be able to communicate constantly. They're gonna constantly transmit and receive. And they should have that in there next week and
Okay.
get together to start the
So
installation.
the test did work?
Yes.
Cause I've been asking Lean.
I found out this morning, I called him today, or I texted him, he called me back.
Okay.
So he filled me in.
That's good news.
Yeah, it is because it's been a problem.
I thought we already did, didn't we?
Yeah, I thought so.
So we gotta pass.
I thought we hadn't called for the vote yet.
No,
Okay,
hadn't
good.
had a vote.
Yeah, 'cause we got sidetracked with the discussion. Alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sign it, Allison.
Last but not least,
Okay.
for 2 weeks that we weren't supposed to have a meeting, we had a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Alright, I will make a motion to approve the minutes from Tuesday, December 29th as written. This was Selectmen's meeting.
Alright, any discussion?
Yeah, I had a question.
Fire away.
Okay, this had to do when we were discussing master plan funding, and at the end of the discussion, Brian Pike stated that he felt this option, which was to encumber funds, was within the purview of the planning board to do like any other committee can do. I'm not sure I agree with that statement.
Well, that's one that made it, so whether you agree with it, it's,
Well, I'm saying, I would like to, if we're gonna disagree, I would like to get a legal opinion, because it's always been my understanding that no money can be spent without the approval of the selectmen.
well, it's cemetery trustees. We do it.
If we don't sign the check, you can't spend the money.
Sure, but we can come to the funds and such like that, it's a,
Okay, I'd like to get a legal opinion. Can you spend money that was
legal opinion.
appropriated in your budget for something else that was not included in the budget?
Guess I'm not sure, well, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I
Okay,
mean,
can I get a clarification?
yeah,
Okay,
definitely get clarification, but.
okay.
I'm trying to remember your budget that, you know, you correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, cause you're the chair of that board, and George. You have a line item for consultants.
Yes, that
That's
includes things like master plan, and I've
That's
already
it.
clarified that
Yeah,
with Mike Tart, Central New Hampshire Regional
Yeah.
Planning.
so there'd be consultants, so there's a line item in
I
there,
mean, that's exactly what that line is for.
so. But we can
And
get,
typically, by the way, that's who we hire.
so. Yeah, we can definitely get a legal opinion. Are you sure on
Yep, I have one. Yep, legal opinion to spend money appropriated for something else that was not included in the budget.
but then again, we have to clarify the fact that may
But we have a
Okay.
consulted line,
Right.
that's general.
have to give some background information so they understand where it's
Oh,
coming from.
okay. You had your copy, that was your copy.
Alright, so we had discussion, any other discussion on the minutes?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Can you pass it on to the chief? Yes, please. They send that to my house instead of your house. I know we both have the same number, but I don't think the lettering's the same.
There's been some pretty bizarre stuff going on with the mail, cause we're getting all kinds of odd stuff.
Something going on you don't know about here?
What do you want?
Yeah.
No,
He's
no,
playing
we
with
get little
dolls, you're
people's
playing with.
mail all the time, it's always, it's just.
Alrighty, minutes are done, let's get moving here, Brett, you're first on the list.
Great, thanks. I wanted to come in and bring you up to date on the Stone Farm conservation easement. Last time I was here with the woman from the Five Rivers Conservation Trust and Margaret Watkins to ask you to sign off on that L-chip application, which they were successful in getting, so they asked for $135,000, got 117, so it was very competitive, and that was very good news. And so Margaret has written 6 other grants which have come through, and so we've raised 80% of the money that we need for that conservation easement, so we have $60,000 left to raise through private fundraising, which we're gonna do over the next year, and there's a committee called Friends of Stone Farm, which is gonna be doing that. It's some folks from the Congregational Church, Five Rivers Conservation Trust, and the Conservation Commission, so it's really looking, it's a miracle, basically, is what it is. You know, that'll happen, so, it'll probably take about a year to finish that, but, you know, it's looking pretty good. We're having a public hearing next Wednesday night at our Conservation Commission meeting, to vote on expending $30,000 from the Conservation Fund to contribute, to the project. And, I got a little brochure Here,
Just
which I
pass the
can,
notice down to them, so that,
pardon me?
I just passed the notice for that.
Yeah, okay, so we've got a little brochure here that we're gonna be using, if I can give you a copy of it.
Oh, awesome, thank you.
Next Wednesday, yeah, 7:45 right here.
Can we hear? Yep.
Yep.
That's cool.
It's on,
And we actually had,
just on the web, again.
Oh.
You know, even just to let people know.
there,
I put it on the hot topics,
Oh,
but
okay.
do we
yeah,
have?
you mean the posting, yeah. There's a little page on the conservation, Dunbarton Conservation website about the stone farm with that, and all the information that's in the brochure, the pictures and so forth. We had 50 people show up at our hike that we did, last month, and, they contributed, I think, $2,500 right there, to
Beautiful.
the, to the project, so. And I also wanted just to give you this, in case you had any questions from anybody about, why we doing this, is it taking, money out of the tax base and so forth, and, I think you're probably familiar with this, the cost of services type, estimates, and I just did one, for the stone farm, in particular, using information that was in, last year's town report. And so, basically, the bottom line is that, the cost of services per household in town, the police, fire, transfer station and so forth, works out to be about $1,820 per household. The cost per student in this, school is a little over $15,000 per kid, if you just take the school budget and you divide the school expenditures and divide it by the number of kids. And so, if you have one child in a, household, that's basically that family's using nearly $17,000 worth of services, and you can see how much they're contributing in on taxes. If they have a, $350,000 home, they're contributing, a total of, they paid $7,399 in taxes, but if you take out the county tax, which goes someplace, goes out of town, they're actually contributing $6,461. So it's basically, the more kids in the schools, the more, kind of money everybody else has to pay in taxes to keep things going, so. Stone Farm's 200 acres,
But for the record, you're not anti-kid, right?
no, no, not anti, it's just the way our tax,
I
system
understand.
works,
I
it's just, it is what it is,
I'm just blowing you away.
Yeah. And so, that's
Yeah.
potentially 29 house lots, and if you have an average value of, home in that development of $350,000, total annual property taxes paid in at the 2014 rate would be $187,000 and change. It's, let's say, a winner, it's a money maker, let's say, for the town if there's no kids, in the development. But once you get 10 kids, for example, it's, those families kind of take out of the pot more than they're putting in. 15 kids, they're taking out, a lot more and so forth. So bottom line basically is that it's, we're not taking, let's say, money out of the, tax base, for conservation, so. Any questions?
Yeah, I was just curious, after you, put in the 30,000 from the conservation,
Yeah,
how much more are we gonna need to raise?
it would be 60,000 in total, yeah, privately. Yeah, so asking people for private contributions, cause we'll have tapped everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens, God forbid, that you can't get the 60 grand, I'm sure you'll get it.
Yeah.
What would happen, well, the money has to be.
Well, no, what would happen is we keep trying.
Okay, so
Yeah,
there's
there's
not
no,
a
I mean,
timeline.
these funding sources would like to see it wrapped up by the end of the year, but,
Right.
if we're a little short, we think we can buy a little more time, so yeah.
All right,
So, I mean, it's a miracle that, we've been able to get all these grants and so forth. It really is, so.
Oh, nice work.
Well, Margaret Watkins, yeah. Any questions? Okay,
Pretty simple, so.
alright, thank you.
Appreciate the heads up.
Yeah. Yeah, these will be around, they're gonna be in the library, Linda said she'd hand them out, here,
Actually, I do have a question, but it's not related to this.
Yeah.
Kimball Pond, dumping and all that stuff, how are we doing all that?
You know something, it's looking better this year than it has looked in a long time. I think those gates, have helped a lot, and, yeah, it's been a lot better. I go down there, you know, a
I was
lot.
down there last
checking it.
weekend,
Yeah,
it looked great.
yeah, we dropped some trees, in the place where people camp so that they can't get in there with vehicles, and Jeff has some rocks in there and so forth, so that's helped a lot.
Good.
Yeah,
I would highly advocate, if you haven't been on the East Side Trail, that is a wonderful trail.
Really?
Just out there,
Hmm.
views from the boat ramp, and it heads out along the eastern
Yeah.
property.
Yep.
Comes up to, crosses with the old Whipple Road, and then comes back around to the top of the meadows,
yeah.
and it's just a wonderful trail, great.
We have copies of that, we do hand it out here in the office.
Yeah. Yeah, and then map, George made a map of some of those ones.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah,
That's good to hear.
yeah, yeah, it's much better. Much, much better.
Any other questions for Brett while he's here?
The only one, I guess, is Jim Stone, one of the folks in this picture.
Those are I think his father is in that picture, yeah. Yeah. They look like Jim, if you zoom in close enough, they
Yeah,
all
oh, yeah.
get his look, yeah.
Yeah, the one between the horses looks like.
Yeah, and the kid, who's kinda cut off, looks like him too.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was wondering, the one on the end.
Yeah, it's not him though, that was
No.
taken before him,
Yeah.
this time,
Cool picture.
yeah.
Funny how genetics work.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Brett. Thank you, Brett.
Huh?
Yeah. George, are you staying for this too? Or you-
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were staying just for Brett and then.
No, no.
Be careful.
You planning process?
Planning, well, we can also, Steve too, I mean, yeah.
Yep.
So you're a part of it. It's up to you if you wanna come up front or you can stay back there.
It's open, thanks.
Okay.
See you later.
Alrighty, let me dig out my, which one is this, building inspection, planning zone. That's the whole kid pool, right? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Remember when we started the budget process?
Yeah.
We asked that we would get a copy of the proposed budget a week ahead of time, so we could at least have a chance to look at it before they presented it. So what happened to that?
I've been sending them to you on Monday nights.
Yeah.
You're getting them Monday.
I've seen that, yeah, I got one, he
Email.
sends them by an email.
Yeah, these showed up, I saw these.
Yeah, sometimes I
Yeah.
give them to Allison if it's something that's, you've been checking into, but they're in your email.
I think they're on, Gmail.
Yeah, your town website, your town email. And you guys are not checking it regularly. Okay.
I guess I'll make copies for you
Then
now.
we'll just, let's just send them home to him.
Allison's here.
Alright. Sorry about that, didn't know that.
No, it's all right. We're not all computer literate.
Yeah. That's okay. We'll forgive you. Alright, gentlemen, we're gonna go with, planning and zoning first, since you guys are here, and we'll get building right afterwards.
What do you wish me to describe in any detail? I'm sure I got the same sheet you have.
Yep, if you want to.
Maybe 10 or 15 items on there, some of them are pretty descriptive.
True, but I mean, if, when you get ups and downs and, stuff like that, so if you just wanna go through and just hit the high points as in, this is up because you feel this or that, just kinda give us a rundown on what you're.
Okay, it's pretty similar to the last several years. In
Yeah.
general though, it's very lean, mostly because we have a lot of pass-through costs. For instance, let's look at the first few lines, advertising, planning, zoning, postage for zoning, even fees and services, a lot of these tend to be increased when we have business, which are primarily subdivisions.
Yeah.
Or, lot line adjustments don't really contribute that much. And in some of those cases, there's extensive advertising because of notices to the abutters, it's just a pass-through item. So that's very low, historically, that's very low.
So you
Pass
post,
through because we get the money back.
We get the money back, and it comes out.
so you,
Actually, we make a little money on some of that stuff, it's peanuts, like there's a $6 or $10 fee that we also charge for
So-
handling the certified letters.
the advertisement and the postage are both pass-throughs.
Usually, yes. Now, on special occasions, if we have to advertise something, because the planning board's doing something, we need to,
Right,
really notify the public, that's the cost
like
of
zoning
pump.
changes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a cost from the board. Those tend to be small though.
Yeah.
But I mean, if, on any particular project, it can last for months, and if there's 20, 30, butters, it's a lot of money.
Gotcha.
Supplies, planning, zoning,
Mhm.
general, it's very small. Fees and services, that's one of those fluid, areas. For instance, when we did the chicken farm, we had to hire third-party consultants specific to that project, several $1,000s, but that was all paid by the applicant.
Right.
So that doesn't show up here, so that's pretty low.
Mhm.
That can be thousands.
Yep.
Mapping and online query manager, if George wants to say, tell us what that is, go right ahead.
I'm assuming, Lean, that's the Cartographic Associates
Mhm.
stuff. The mapping is an annual fee for them to update the maps,
Yep.
and we'll do that every year,
Mhm.
and that's a pretty good price. And then the online query manager is that online website that they maintain for us.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So we use it for multi-purpose,
Right.
the mapping and the tax cards.
Right.
We have the software to upload the data so that they can, rather than pay Vision software company thousands of dollars, so they can use their own software to display their own cards, we can do the same thing with software that we purchase, so,
I mean, that's a pretty good deal
yeah.
for all the stuff you got going.
Recording fees, that's, registry fees, usually that can be very high. That's very low, it's the lowest figure I've ever seen. For instance, once on Stinson Hills, for instance, I went with the lawyer from the applicant and, based on real estate transfer taxes, everything, $25,000 was transacted that particular day, including all the stuff filed in our behalf. For instance, the road bed deed, et cetera, easements, so it can get pretty, technical. In fact, Lean, you were around for some of those projects, they are very complicated, but we haven't had a subdivision for years. Engineering costs are similar. We hire, in the past, we've hired Don Mayo, and sometimes that line is $16,000 or $20,000 a year, once again, it's a pass-through. But sometimes, you know, we do things where we have the engineer do something for us, it's not known. Could come up, you could come up with something that you guys wanted, Selectman. Planning consultant is a standard line, and that's for, going to the outside and getting consultants, for ongoing planning tools, which it ranges from everything from the master plan through our amendments to the zoning, to site plan review, regulations being changed, and it's always moving. Over the years, we've done a variety of stuff, and hopefully we don't always get back to the same thing.
Then the year prior, didn't we get the CIP paid out of this?
Yes, that's a good point, Brian, now that's your burden, I hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, for instance, that, and it was non-specific,
Yeah.
that's a pretty well, it's a big catch-all thing. Planning, zoning, training, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Mhm.
Typically, seminars, you know, books and stuff. That's really low compared to the other towns. We've got a lot of, well, pretty seasoned guys on the planning board, even the zoning board. We have sent some of the new guys out.
Yeah.
You've gone too and stuff.
I'm trained.
So, it's pretty lean right now. I mean, it's pretty low. Some of those seminars can be expensive. But I don't think George and I have taken advantage of that in
Wait
years.
for the Hawaii one.
You know, why,
Yeah, New Hampshire planning and zoning
In Hawaii.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let me know.
Okay, I'll
I'll go as a
I'll
selectman's
be your
rep.
turn now, right?
And I'm a selectman's rep, you're gonna have to sit here and cover the base there, buddy. Yeah,
So,
alrighty.
as far as, you know, you, at your budget, strategy meeting the other night, you asked for somewhat level funding. Steve had originally prepared this budget, and it was several $1,000s more, we pared it down to be level.
Appreciate that. But I mean, as long, you know, again, we're looking at level services, not level funding.
It's level everything.
But if this is the you know, if it's gonna give the same level of services to be reduced, that's a win-win, I think.
So-
It's nice.
just out of clarification,
Yep.
on this, let's say the actual this year, that's funds that we're using, and our budget year, what's the cycle for that?
Calendar year. January one to
Top
December
right.
31st.
It says it right here, January.
But this doesn't get approved, the new
Till
budget
March.
doesn't get approved till March.
Correct.
So do we just float in,
We're kind of in limbo for the, those 2.5, 3 months, whatever you wanna look at it. The laws are on the books that we can continue operating as we need to. I mean, with standard, we just can't, go out and make huge purchases and stuff like that that may come back to bite us because, if we have a need and there's a reason we have to spend the money, we can spend the money. Like payrolls and the usual bills for like Woody's, materials that, waste that's gotta go and stuff like that. All those things. And if John, has a huge fire or something like that and needs extra money, it's before that time, we have to pay the bills, we gotta continue on. That's why we're supposed to have money in the bank, the unassigned surplus to help cover that just in case, until we get the taxes and everything established. So. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Good. Guys, anybody add in, chime in guys.
No, you're fine, no, good.
I'm still learning stuff as I go, so, could be wrong. So. Anything else for the good of the order, let's.
We're talking about the budget right now,
Yeah.
I mean, that's some other detailed question, it's pretty simple and mundane at this point.
Anything else for the budget for these
No,
gentlemen?
budget, it's fine.
Alrighty, you gonna be part of the building inspection, or are you guys gonna?
No, but we do have an issue, we did talk about bringing up, revisiting.
Yep.
Talking about funding last year's cost for updating the master plan.
Absolutely. Well,
And-
we'll get you here.
Pardon?
Yeah, go forth.
Well, part of this started back at the, your budget strategy meeting, Brian, where you kinda gave out the trend that you wanna see things, kept
Well,
not
we'll
only
see.
low budget, but very efficient.
Yeah.
And, one thing that we've been hanging on to for years
Mhm.
has been updating the master plan. And George, for instance, you asked this, Ted, you asked tonight, how often we do that. In our last master plan, right at the beginning, 2004, we are the longest, in central New Hampshire regional, we are the longest or out-of-date master plan town right now. A master plan is typically updated every 5 to 7 years, that's what it says in here. And the RSA,
that's our master plan.
that's our master plan.
So you're not following our plan.
We're overdue by 2 times.
And, we've been putting it off for the last few years due to the recession and due to the lack of activity, and felt that, by the way, other towns were too. But now they're all back in business, and most of them are up to date, getting up to date quickly. So we thought that this would be a very expensive project, and, when you indicated that, maybe this is not the year to start spending money on the master plan update, I just, let it go for the moment. But thanks to Lean and even Allison, they got kind of enthusiastic and said, well, Ken, you mentioned the other night that, and I mentioned it to Tom, we haven't been spending any money due to grants. We've been very lucky, getting lots of money for all our needs on that line, planning consultants, because it's mostly central New Hampshire that provides it. And we didn't spend any money. So Lean indicated, well, maybe we could talk to Central New Hampshire, for instance, and come up with a proposal. I talked to Mike Tardif. Towns are doing it. They're trying to, at the end of the year, trying to get together and trying to update stuff. And so we felt that maybe we could lessen the burden economically, financially, and try to space this out over several budget periods, tapping into what money we are entitled to right now under planning consultant. And I talked to Mike, and he says, well, that's the way towns are doing it. And he had 2 on tap right then and there, so I wasn't the only one. They were year end. And so I talked to George, I talked to Allison also, and we did discuss it at a planning board meeting, which you were not at.
Yep.
And thought it was a good deal. And I went to him with a contract, I asked him to do a contract for Lean's request, and we had to get it in before the end of the year. And they proposed doing it over 2 years because of the financial burden that we didn't want to incur. And we're putting up getting $4,000 of grant money right now. You can't beat that.
No.
So it's a $16,000 burden to them,
Mhm.
because we're doing it at a timely period right now. There's $4,000 tied to that contract. What we would typically be doing is going like spending $4,000 now,
Mhm.
and then tapping into a little bit more budget money, and then tapping into finishing it. The contract that you guys had in front of you, is pretty unique.
Contract with the other
Two copies then.
And I wanna give, first of all, thank Lean for putting the pressure on getting it done and getting it done right, because I know you in particular are very
Mhm.
particular about contracts. I wanted to see Mike part of it. Don't forget, we're dues paying members.
Mhm.
And I think it's a good deal. The services are excellent. If you wanna bid it out, go right ahead. You keep that. You'll never get it, you won't get close. Don't forget, we're a member of them like we are the municipal association, so, you know. They do all the master plans. Based on personnel and stuff, and he being a very particular guy, I said, who's gonna do it? Mike Tardiff himself is the executive director. He's going to handle this. And he's just gonna spread it out. And I want to bring your attention to one little line in the front of this contract. This agreement may be terminated upon written notice by either party. That means that if you had signed that contract last week like I requested you to, or Lynn requested you to, and you changed your mind, or we changed our mind, the contract's null and void. You can't get that anyplace else. And there's an element of trust here, and we've worked with them. They do our hazard mitigation stuff, they do stuff in the past, that's another cost factor that comes out of the budget.
Yep.
These things, you know, are ever changing, and you ask to save money, and that's the best way to do it. You're talking deal. And now, from our perspective though, it's a lot of work. So, you know, do what you want.
Can't disagree with anything you said so far. I mean, I was, you know, in favor of it from the beginning, but,
Yeah, I guess I'm talking to the wrong guys right now.
so,
I've been talking about getting the master plan underway for the last 4 or 5 years.
no.
It's not like we haven't been discussing it, we
And
have,
just
for
to
years.
Just to reiterate, make sure I wasn't talking out of school when I was asked this question, because we didn't have any of you guys here at the time, when we first looked at it. Repercussions of not having a master plan on file, updated one, current and such, what
It's
are they?
It's an unknown condition,
Mhm.
but it's a requirement. This isn't in the same case as the unfunded mandates, come on, let's be honest now. We've done other things, Ted, for instance, under that line, consultant, that we were forced to do, workforce housing. You know, we probably would not have taken that on our own. We haven't had any activity in workforce housing in this town, but we had to do it.
There's also.
We also got a grant.
And we got a grant for it.
Yep.
And so, we're doing the same thing here, we're getting grants for these things,
Mhm.
because the timing is right, they're running out. And, I don't know exactly what your question still was, but on the validity of the master plan, it's similar to like not having workforce housing in effect, you have to do it, even though we've had no applications. Now, if we had a lawsuit, and we have been sued in the past, that could be just another argument that a creative lawyer would throw that we're not contemporary with the master plan. The master plan, by the way, is not a law. It's a planning tool. And the state says we have to have those planning tools, so we can reflect on even more money that goes into this category, which is, you know, planning consultant, you know, that we then have to change our zoning to keep in touch and in step
Yeah.
with contemporary society here in Dunbarton.
Like those planned residential subdivisions.
Got it. We
and-
changed, by the way, there's another one. We did that last year with Central New Hampshire Regional Planning, and that was never mentioned as a budget item until we realized we had to do it, said, well, that comes out of that line. They did that.
But that whole innovative land use zoning thing that we did stemmed from the last master plan we did.
Yes.
In 2004.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
That's a good point for you.
And it was an outcome from that. And I'll just say that the master plan is not something that the beanie hat wearing planners do. It's supposed to be a representation of the will of your town. It's like, it's inventory
I
of
remember
people
the
are
last one,
paying.
we had, whereas at the school, we had meetings after
Yeah.
meetings and.
Visioning
And-
session.
Oh, yeah,
and,
meeting session, work session.
It would not be that intensity this time.
Probably be some, what's it, surveys? that goes
Surveys
out.
and stuff, and it's in that, it's in the contract, that's what they would do, there's a lot of, clerical type work. And then, even if we got it in play, there's a certain element of protection that says, yeah, we've started the process. Nothing happened with regard to the chicken farm, with regard to the master plan. The master plan back then did seem to indicate that this town was in favor of agriculture. That
So
may
they
have changed, so,
So, yeah, they probably would've jumped on it then.
yeah, so I mean, times change and we need to stay contemporary. Not that that's one of the issues, but there are some that may come up. We don't know exactly what they would be. That's why you have to do it. Because we're not soothsayers. We have to, it's our obligation, not just to talk to you guys and stay as one little cubicle. It's our obligation to go out and seek input from the community.
So it's sort of like the decade census that
Yeah.
the states do.
Right. Yeah. So here we have an opportunity, I mean, I could write this off, I don't care, it's a lot of work. But,
It is.
sometimes, I told you this the other night, a lot of my philosophy is, when I don't wanna do something, sometimes the best thing to do is to do it,
Mhm.
get it over with. And cost-wise, this is the time to do it.
Plus we have remnant budget from last year.
And we don't see any big complications and other stuff, we're doing some zoning modifications and we're tweaking our zoning. It's not like we're gonna jump on that, we're gonna do it, we're gonna do that in-house. In fact, we have been trying to do that
Right.
in-house when it was possible.
I understand. So, if I understand correctly, you're looking for us to take and sign on to this and let's move forward.
I'm looking for you guys to buy into the fact that this is one of the duties of the planning board, and we're willing to do it now. And I
We
mentioned,
have the resources.
we have the resources to do it, on the money we have not spent, and I just want to clarify and make it very clear. We've done an excellent job in this planning board over the last 5 or 10 years of not spending money on all the things we had to do, including stuff we don't want in this town. I mean, people may say, why workforce housing? Had to do it, we did it,
By law, we have to.
and we did it right, by the way. We did it legally correct. In fact, the planning board has never, we've been sued a lot over the years, we have never lost in court. I
Said that, I know, I should have said
Start
that.
knocking on the piece of what you find, right?
We have never,
Just
that's
jinx this
because we try to keep in touch, we try to do it right. We got a lot of talent on this board, and
I said on the board,
in
yeah,
fact,
I-
Allison's minutes are excellent. When we go to court, those minutes are great.
Yep.
And we try to run a good show,
Mhm.
and, we've been sued everything from where Ted lives, Tucker Hill, we got sued on that way back. The suits have stopped because people woke up that we're doing it right. And we don't wanna screw it up on this master plan, which is something that,
Chances are not you jinx this, that'd be the one little lynchpin
Yeah,
that
yeah,
gets
sued
caused-
here.
Gets sued in the master plan and not being up to date to get it. No. Alrighty. Well, gentlemen,
So the
Balls
town's
in
portion
my
of this would be $12,000, is that right?
over the
Yeah,
course
well,
of 2
that's,
years.
that's
Over 2
another
years.
thing, it doesn't say it has to be 12,000, that's what the contract says. If we wanted to lessen it, we can do that. If we wanted to do some stuff in-house later because it's convenient for us, we have Steve, we have other people that could tap into this, the cost would be less. I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek right now.
Mhm.
It's hard to get talented volunteers. And there's some places that we could still save, Tom, but right now, $12,000 is a good contract. And another thing, we got the top guy doing it, and his second in charge. That's unusual, little arm twisting.
So, you said you guys have been talking about updating the master plan for like 3 or 4 years.
More than 3 or 4 years.
More than 3 or 4 years. And it was brought up this summer, and
Good.
you,
It's always been brought up in planning
he
board meetings.
decided he didn't wanna do it.
No, actually,
Well, that's, you said something
No.
along those
No,
lines.
no, I was at the
No.
meeting when they talked about it last.
actually, you haven't been at planning board meetings, but Brian in particular has suggested we need to do the master plan. Tom raised an issue, and we had a discussion about what this is about. So both of those selectmen have, over the last year, since they've been on the board, queried me on the master plan.
I wanna say that I brought it up a couple times.
Yep.
Okay, I guess my
Yep.
concern is,
Yeah, 'cause
look,
it's,
we've been talking about it, and then all of a sudden you come to the Board of Selectmen on the 24th of December and say, we'd like to spend money on the master plan.
You know, we like,
Why can't these things be done in an orderly fashion? Why couldn't you come to us in September, October, even November, and say, this is what we'd like to do, this is how much it's gonna cost? At least we'd have time to you know, discuss it and kinda absorb what
we're
it is
doing
you're
it right
doing.
now, we're discussing it right now.
Yeah, no, but it's the last minute. You're saying, you know, either you sign it or it's pretty much gone. That's really what you're saying.
I'm just saying it's a good opportunity now.
mhm.
Now, I'm
It
still,
wouldn't have been a good opportunity in September?
Well, to be
Ted,
fair, I don't
Ted,
think anybody
Ted,
thought of
you've
this.
got a circular argument going here. We're probably, if we don't do it now, we're still probably gonna do it.
Right.
You know,
Here's what's frustrating for me. I've been on this board for 4 years, and every December, I have committees and I have departments coming and asking to spend money that they knew they were gonna wanna spend back in July. Why did they wait till the last week of December where it's either, we're under the gun, either you sign it or it's gone?
Well, I think you can easily answer that, cause John said that before, what he does with his budget, he waits to the end because you never know what's gonna come up between July and December.
Yeah, he's talking about things like repairing his,
Yeah.
his engines. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about these other things.
Doesn't
that
matter
people
what it
do.
is, it's the
we're
same
trying to
principle.
repair, we're trying to repair the master
It's the
plan.
same principle, we don't know
principle.
what's gonna happen in July for certain, but yeah, you know, we hold on to the money and do it as cemetery trustees.
Yeah, same
We,
thing.
we spend what we have to and we hold on to it because we don't know what's gonna happen, you know, we got an ice storm and these, before this tree fell, came down, could have taken out stones, I mean, it's been a catastrophic issue. If we need the money, we have it there, if we don't, need to use it, then we encumber the funds at the last minute to take care of some more stuff that we need to get done. It's been on the plan,
Yeah, I don't think Dunbarton's unusual in that.
no.
There was some famous philosopher once said, it wasn't for the last minute, Ted, nothing would get done.
Yeah, so, but we're all driven by deadline.
Yeah, exactly, so, you know,
That's a-
you
that's
can
pretty good.
yell at me, but I don't feel bad about it, but here's the point, we tried, we really did. I talked, Lean really did a great job, so did your wife Allison at that time back then, before the end of the year. And, I mean, it was like, get your butt over there and get this contract, and get it going and get it done right. That's not questionable, and it's a good contract, and we did it. I talked to George, it was like nothing was behind the scenes, it was like, let's do something now and get it over with. Now, you wanna put it off for another 5 years, okay.
Can I just speak on,
Absolutely.
on the budget side of it? I don't think I've ever seen a planning board member come to the office and ask to pay something out of their budget lines. This whole budget line, group numbers, is just something that they plan with the board with anticipation of things happening during the course of the year. Sometimes those lines like the, engineering costs will be off the chart. We still have to absorb it, because the planning board is hopping. They don't come to my office and say, I have an engineering, bill that has to be paid. We have to pay it, we have to monitor it, we have to collect fees, that's an in-house office, process. And they try to be reasonable and look at, and project what they anticipate if they're hearing, you know, somebody's approaching, you know, property transfer for 1,000 acres, they're gonna be, you know, they're inquiring about a big development, then they're gonna look at this and say, okay, we're gonna need more money next year. That's the only time I ever see those guys. So, to look at the bottom line and hear that they're trying to get this master plan updated because it's behind schedule, for Ken to find the opportunities to get grant money to match and then be able to update it for a reasonable cost, the money was there. That was my recommendation to them because I heard what they were saying that they needed to do. And I looked at the already raised taxes for this budget that they requested last year.
We've been talking about, at least I've been talking about this with the capital improvements planning
Yeah.
office. I've been to 3 or 4 of those early on. We started, the whole mantra of that was to
Yep.
get it all in early so we'd
Mhm.
have numbers for you, but
Mhm.
the problem is that
Yeah, we gotta be.
we tried to, I started out right front, I said, we should add the master plan as a CIP line item. But then it's like, it's not a capital expense, so it doesn't get on there. I said, we should put it in our budget, and now's the time to put it in the budget. So it's not gonna, if you're not gonna string it out and put it on that year plan for 5 years or 10 years out, then it has to come in an annual budget. And here's the time to do it.
We're trying to do something in keeping with the disposition of this board at that budget strategy session. That's how I reacted, how George reacted, trying to do it economically, and based on those conditions, it's actually easier for us to do it economically right now.
And thank you for doing that, cause I mean, I know we put it out there and it wasn't a very popular,
Right.
sentiment that night, but, you guys,
And Ed, I understand where you're at, but the way I feel about this is that I thought I'd get a telephone call even from you saying, good job, you don't do that.
No.
And it really hurt. Put it bluntly.
Well, but like I said, you guys have been discussing this since summer.
We've been
You
discussing
come in-
it for
you come
5
in
years.
The last week of the year, say, here's a contract. To begin with, my first thought was, this contract's for $16,000. Even if you're getting a grant, the contract's still 16. Our bid policy says any appropriation over 10,000 should go out for bid.
Well, the timer is.
Do it.
But you're asking us to sign this contract.
well, actually, it's a 2-year contract, so it's actually,
It doesn't matter if it's a 10-year contract, it's still over 10,000. You know, it states in the bid policy that to go with the spirit, the intention of the bid policy, you shouldn't be splitting up a contract into different sections to get under the $10,000.
yeah.
So I mean, whether it doesn't matter really how many years it's for, it's still a contract for more than 10,000.
It tends to though, Ted, tends to be a contract that's one way. That is the maximum they can charge or that they're going to do it for, quite frankly. That's what they're saying. They're not,
It could be
they're
less.
talking about a $16,000 limit. We can quit at any time. That's their maximum cost, not to exceed.
So we're not necessarily committing ourselves to 16.
No, it says it right in there. That
It's
one
just
line's
an-
right on the front page.
To not to exceed.
Yeah.
I
In
mean,
fact,
even if we bail out 8 months into
Right.
it, or,
we may have certain
13 months into
obligations
it.
if they've done certain
Yeah.
work,
Right.
but there's no commitment on the town of Dunbarton's part to spend $12,000 on that project.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think this is a win-win for us. We'd be foolish not to take it, so that's my opinion. I mean, I can't speak for you two gentlemen.
No, I think the issue is, Ted's point, it's the timing of it. It's just that,
I can understand that,
and I think that's
so
probably
you're not
the
the only
biggest.
ones that do it.
Oh, I know, right, we do it in the cemetery too. So I know, we're all guilty. I think we all look at our budgets and kind of space it out over the course of the year, and come September, October, you start looking at what's left. And then you make your plan at the end of the year and, take care of those things. So yeah, I think it's the timing, not so much the money, but the timing is, I think, the issue.
Okay, so let's forget about the timing. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up. That's one of the things that was irritating me. But how about the bid policy? Do we just,
Do we have a copy of it handy?
we just say, bid policy is only when it suits us?
Well, it's
It's
not
not
a
a
bid,
rule,
but,
it's a policy. It's not a rule.
no,
When you do anything with the municipal association, do you bid that work?
Well, the insurance and stuff like that we have recently, and it was a moot point because.
I mean, for instance, you get workman's comp to the municipal association and stuff like, you don't get that out.
No, we did this year.
Oh, yeah,
You get-
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything over 10,000, that's.
I mean, but, I mean, you do it sometimes. How'd it go? Did they get the?
And it's really
They're the
not,
same-
you
same
know,
people.
it's really not and I'm willing to take the blame, but I mean, this was a warrant article at town meeting. The voters voted that we have a bid policy, and it was stated how much money had to be spent for the bid policy to go into effect. I mean,
Well,
it's,
I have no argument with the bid policy.
Okay.
If you have to do it, you know.
But it could also bite us in the butt. Thank you. Alright.
Did you wanna look up copy?
Well, we do have a section here called exceptions. Exceptions to the policy we determine on a case-by-case basis by the Board of Selectmen. Simple as that. Which goes to your point that it's, you know, it's public policy. Cases not requiring bidding procedure, the Selectmen can approve it without bid under the following conditions. Item be purchased under state or federal bid list. Nope. Only one known source of purchase and there is no comparable substitute, product or service. Written documentation supporting the sole source must be provided. That'd be a stretch, because I mean, other people can do it, but it's gonna be much more expensive, I have no doubt. Specific type or brand or supply or part necessary for acceptable operation of a machine or device or supplied by warranty or contracts, doesn't really fit the bill. An item or service that is required on an emergency basis, it's not an emergency, and an item previously awarded within the past 12 months. At this point in time. Exception is what looks like it's the only way we can do it.
where is it, yeah?
Number 9, under exceptions. But I mean, as the RSA 3139 states, it relates to our management of the town's prudential affairs and the authority over expenditures. We can, you want that, I'm sorry, you want this copy?
No, it's all right.
Where did you see that?
It's on the bottom, under authority. Okay, so, lies with us.
So what happens if we asked you to go out for bids?
Well, I thought that you guys did that.
No, I mean, what happens with this contract, if we say, well, we wanna go out for bids?
Well, it does, we wouldn't have done it until the bids came in, until you guys cleared that up. Maybe if we got a lower bid, maybe we take that, but I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, you're right, it probably, and a lot of cases, we get requests to spend money over 10,000, and we're 99% sure that,
You have to do, I understand.
but we have to do it.
I understand.
That's what the bid policy says.
I don't, I mean, I'm not the one in town, is that Lean's job? How long does it take you to get a package together to get it out to people? I mean, you gotta find sources, you go to the Municipal Association's magazine, and there used to be people that advertise there, but it's a non-entity because all the, planning commissions are doing this work. Don't forget, there's other planning commissions, we're just in central New Hampshire, there's southern New Hampshire, and
There's
it's
10
not for,
others.
what?
There's 10 of them, right?
there's 10 counties, it doesn't, yeah,
Nine.
there's not,
Nine
they don't
change.
go with counties, but
Yeah, I
there's
think
9
there's
planning
one-
commissions.
Nine planning commissions? I thought there was 10, cause I thought one had, like a north and a south.
Well, they do, they have southern New Hampshire, like, which is,
No, I mean, there's like a region, but it's so big that it actually has
that's
two.
what happens up north,
Yeah.
you're right, Laconia is a bigger region. You know, you're dealing with a quasi-government agency, you know, they're not for profit, they have certain tax status, and that's how they do this stuff, you know. Private sector doesn't like,
No, well, I can
those
actually sell fuel
outfits.
to them, so I know that
Pardon?
I can actually sell fuel to them,
yeah,
so they fall within the governmental status.
I mean, they do your traffic counts
Mhm.
for DOT.
Yep.
So, you know, they're part of the government, so to speak, in a way, quasi-government agency.
Isn't there an escape clause here that says you can get out in 30